All right, welcome back to our second talk for brain awareness. Thank you for those that are watching online. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you're settled in your seats. Maybe this group here in the chapel, which is kind of getting kind of rowdy, can settle in their seats too. Yeah, I did just call folks out for being a little rowdy. They're not actually rowdy, but so speaking of rowdy, I'm looking at our next speaker when I said speaking of rowdy. He may or may not be considered rowdy, but he is definitely considered friend, considered an expert, and really well versed in our next talk, which is in the environment and music and how to boost the brain with those two things. So please put your hands together for Rick Bernhardt.
How do you like my intro music? Hunter was teasing me a little bit about it. He likes it, but he just was still teasing me that I had to have intro music. But it got your attention, didn't it? That's what this talk is about today. Getting our attention, focusing on our brains and the way they work and how they are impacted by music, by art, by design. Thanks for being here today. And if you came and you're a little rowdy, awesome. We're going to get along great. I see familiar faces, so hello to the familiar faces, and I see some that I don't know, and so welcome to you as well. A symphony of change, that's what we're looking at today. The power of art, music, and design on the brain. For those of you that sat close to the front, awesome. For those of you that are in the back, even better. For everyone sandwiched in between, basically what I'm trying to say is, you're going to be involved this afternoon. You don't have to get up. We're not going to move the chairs and get in a big circle or anything like that. But I do have a few questions for you. As we age, we find ourselves drawn to new experiences. Perhaps art that reminds us of a simpler time. Does anyone recognize that piece of artwork? Have you seen it before? Liz Hess. Do you see the red umbrella? She's brilliant. So art that reminds us of a simpler time, or music that brings a rush of memories. Is your toe tapping a little bit? Yeah. Or a well-designed room that makes us feel at ease, calm, relaxed. Those beautiful plants. I do like a biophilic design. And Teffy may have heard me say that maybe one too many times. Art, music, and design are powerful forces that shape our minds and our hearts, and especially as we grow older. These elements help us stay sharp. They help to foster joy and even improve our health. But how? How do they work on our brains as we age? Today we're going to take a closer look. We're going to look at the creative world that we live in. Through art, music, and design, a symphony of change in our minds and in our lives. The first one we're going to focus on is the power of art. When we admire a piece of art, something incredible happens in our brains. The visual cortex processes the colors, the shapes, and the patterns we see. Let's pause for a moment and take a look at the stained glass chandeliers that are over our heads. Aren't they beautiful? You see the colors, you see shapes, you see the design. How about the crosses at the top and the bottom? That's part of the design and the pattern. That's what's happening in the visual cortex. And I am happy to say, and you heard it here first, that in between our windows in this room, I won't let out too much of the secret, but I will say that in the near future, you will have the opportunity to invite your visual cortex to process beautiful artwork in between each of these windows. Well, while the visual cortex is focusing on the colors, the shapes, and the patterns, the limbic system is determining how the artwork makes us feel. Studies have shown that looking at beautiful art can activate the brain's reward center, releasing dopamine, the same chemical that makes us feel happy and loved. This means that engaging with art can bring genuine joy, whether you're admiring a painting or creating one yourself. You are only looking at me because you're facing this way. I am seeing your faces. I saw your faces light up when you looked at the chandeliers, when you looked at the children dancing. Your faces lit up. I saw smiles. I still see smiles. This is stirring some good feelings. What a blessing to live and to work in a place where our hallways are filled with beautiful art that help our quality of life, really. Engaging with art brings joy, whether you're admiring a painting or creating one yourself. I'm repeating the creating one yourself to say, if you have opportunity to do art, to look at art, do it. If your doctor prescribed it, you would do it. I'm not a doctor, but I'm prescribing it. Let's do it. Art also helps keep our minds active. Again, research has shown that engaging with art, whether through viewing it, or creating it can improve memory and cognitive function. Let me say that again. Engaging with art, whether through viewing it or creating, can improve memory and cognitive function, especially in older adults. Art encourages us to think deeply and make connections and explore new ideas, all which help to keep our mind sharp. For example, a famous painting like Van Gogh's The Starry Night can evoke powerful emotions, making us think about the world in new ways. This shows how art can create lasting changes in how we think and feel, keeping our brains engaged, an important exercise as we age. Let's take a look at some other paintings, and I'm going to ask you, what types of emotions do these paintings evoke for you? So let's take a look at this one. How does that make you feel? And this is the time where you get to participate by speaking. Who would like to share how this painting is making them feel? Depressed. I'll repeat in case you don't hear. Depressed. Someone else. Again. Solemn. Someone who's struggling. Wow, that's going even a little deeper. Worried. Us viewing art like this, even though this one may make you feel a little bit like what we just described, it's okay. It's okay to have those feelings, to look at art and have that feeling. Now, if your home was filled with only artwork that made you feel worried or struggling or solemn, we would have to have a different conversation. Let's take a look at another. What emotions may evoke from this painting? Peaceful. Quiet solitude. Soft. One more time, please. Engrossed. Engrossed and focused. Okay. And how about the last one? This one's a little tough to see. Intense. These are great describing words. Stormy. Scary. And now, if we could end on one that's a little more uplifting, that would be great. There we go. The word is ah. Anyone else? How does that one make you feel? Alive. I see smiles now. It's so interesting looking out there as they changed. Your faces changed with each one. Alive. Next, we're going to talk about the power of music. Music has an even deeper impact on our brains. When we listen to music, multiple areas of our brains light up in harmony. Incredibly, playing an instrument can create what neuroscientists call a full brain workout. Musicians have been found to have stronger connections between left and right hemispheres, enhancing creativity, problem solving, and even language skills. Because music is therapeutic, it can reduce stress, alleviate depression, and even help individuals struggling with memory changes. I'm going to read that again because who doesn't want that? Music is therapeutic, and it can reduce stress, alleviate depression, and even help individuals struggling with memory changes. It helps to rekindle old memories, bringing back lost connections to their identity and emotions. So, I think it's a perfect time for a commercial. Now, Sing for the Moment didn't pay any extra ad costs to have a commercial at this time, but it just seemed appropriate. If you're not familiar with Sing for the Moment, it happens right here. We rehearse Wednesday mornings for about an hour and 15 minutes. Well, you may have guessed, based on how much I talk, it may only be an hour. We rehearse and we prepare for a concert. And we do 2 concerts a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And the music we choose are songs that rekindle memories, make connections, whether they be old hymns that remind us of a time where we sang alto or tenor or bass. It also reconnects us to loved ones. It brings back those memories. It's a very rich experience, and we do that on Wednesday mornings, and then again, we will perform. I say perform because it is a performance. We'll perform in the spring on May 17th at 2 o'clock. Music impacts how we feel when we watch movies. It's a powerful tool to enhance emotions. It sets the mood, and it guides the audience's experience. We're going to watch a video. We're going to watch it twice. We're going to watch it twice, and there's different music. The first time we watch it will be a score of music, and we will listen and watch and feel. And then we'll watch it again, and we'll hear different music, a different score. All right, so let's hear the first one. Green is not supposed to be so scary. In a moment, you will probably get to see it. What kind of feelings did you have watching? Scary. Jaws. You may never look at the color green again the same way. Let's watch it again. Different feeling, huh? Do you think of creation? Majestic. Other words? Exploring, enjoyable, yeah. Same video clip, different music. This isn't in my script, but sometimes you just get prompted. Maybe it's the pulpit-like. Maybe it's the Holy Spirit. Because what I want to say is, I've watched this multiple times in preparing, and it was just now that I realized that sometimes we deliver a message in a tone that can either be enjoyable or scary. Our tone of voice and the way we deliver a message really impacts how it's received. And that's such a good example and maybe a reminder to be kind and to be gentle in our conversations and in our speech. Now we're going to take a look at what our brains are doing when listening to music. I'm going to read. Oh, I guess I'll read right here. I was going to go over there. I can stay right here. Hunter is shaking his head no. You stay there. I did want to just also say, wasn't it just beautiful listening to the music in this room? Wasn't it so full and beautiful? Well, one of the people we get to thank is Hunter, because he had a lot to do with all of this new sound and how this room turned out. So thank you to you, Hunter. Okay, Hunter, I'm ready and I won't move from here. You're going to listen to me, but watch the screen. Music has been an important part of every human culture, both past and present. It can play a part in brain development, learning mood, and even your health. There used to be a popular belief that music is processed in the right hemisphere of our brains, along with art and other creative activities. However, recent findings show that music is distributed throughout the brain Through studies of people with brain damage, we've seen patients who have lost the ability to read a newspaper, but can still read music. Or individuals who can play the piano, but lack motor coordination to button their own sweater. Today, we know that music, listening, and performance engage nearly every area of the brain that we have so far identified. One of the most common effects music has is that it can alter our mood and feelings by stimulating certain brain chemicals. Film directors use music to tell us how to feel about scenes that otherwise might be unclear, or to elevate our feelings at particularly dramatic moments. Think of a typical fight scene in an action film. It's the music that truly makes the scene epic. Also, our brains respond differently to happy and sad melodies. One study showed that after hearing a short piece of sad music, participants were more likely to interpret a neutral expression as sad. And if the melody was happy, the neutral expression was perceived as a happy one. Listening to music you actually like, your brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical which causes a feeling of satisfaction. When listening to your favorite part of a song, you get the same sort of pleasure that you experience when eating food, doing drugs, or fall in love. So basically, music can make us feel good. And if you're having a particularly good day, listen to some of your favorite upbeat music because it can actually amplify the feelings of happiness. One interesting thing is that even someone who is sad can often reach for sad music, and they find that it helps them feel better. Now, you may be thinking, why would they do that? Why wouldn't a sad person listen to happy music? The reason is that when you're sad or depressed, you usually feel misunderstood, like the people around you don't understand you. If you would listen to happy music in this state, it would only contribute to this feeling of detachment. However, if you put on the right piece of sad music, you might say to yourself, oh, that's how I feel. This musician understands me, so the sad music turns out to be soothing. Another interesting aspect is how listening to music can affect our exercise routine. As our body realizes we're tired and want to stop exercising, it sends a signal to the brain to stop for a break. Listening to music competes for our brain's attention and can help us override those signals of fatigue. A recent study showed that cyclists who listened to music required 7% less oxygen to do the same workout as those who cycled in silence. So not only can we push through the pain to exercise longer and harder when we listen to music, but it can actually help us to use our energy more efficiently. In the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them with instruments like a functional MRI. When researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw multiple regions light up. But what's more interesting is that when they observed brains of musicians while playing an instrument, the whole brain lit up like a sky with fireworks. So while listening to music engages some interesting brain regions, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full body workout. Also, through brain scans, we have found that musicians have different brains than non-musicians. People who play an instrument have a bigger, more connected, more sensitive brain. Another study showed that children who had at least 3 years of instrumental music training performed better than their non-musical counterparts on a variety of tests, mainly in auditory discrimination, abilities, and fine motor skills. But they also tested better on vocabulary and nonverbal reasoning, which involves understanding and analyzing visual information, such as identifying relationships, similarities, and differences between shapes and patterns. These two areas in particular are quite removed from musical trainings, so it's fascinating to see how learning to play an instrument can help children develop a wide variety of important skills. By the way, it's never too late to start learning an instrument. Seniors who play an instrument or sing with other people, like Sing for the Moment Choir, they are more resistant to cognitive and memory challenges. The reason might be the creation of alternative connections in the brain that could compensate for cognitive decline as we get older. So both listening and creating music has its own benefits. However, music affects each brain differently, and someone's music can be another person's noise. Researchers have found that listening to music you like increases blood flow to the brain more than listening to music that you don't like. Be empowered. Listen to music you love. I found this cute little picture and just wanted to show you that animals like to listen to music as well. Now we're going to talk about the power of design. I like this one a lot. The spaces we live in and the way they are designed can significantly affect our well-being, especially as we grow older. Well-designed environments promote relaxation, reduce stress, and even improve our cognitive function. The way our spaces are organized matters. A clean, uncluttered home helps our brains feel more at ease and focused, while disorganization can cause unnecessary stress and distraction. Last Thursday, I became a grandfather for the second time. And when my wife and I went to the hospital to visit our new baby girl named Elena Grace, because I knew you were going to ask. If I were really slick, I would have put her picture up there, huh? Now I guess you'll have to ask me to see it. But I went into the hospital with my wife to see baby Elena Grace. And I did, and she was beautiful, and everyone was happy and healthy. We went in the next day, and while she was sleeping, my eyes started to wander around the room, and my son said, "Oh boy." And I said, "You know, if we would arrange all those flowers that people brought you in this window, you would catch the green of the outside." And I started designing the window and where the flowers should go on the windowsill. And then I said to my daughter-in-law, I said, when you're sitting in bed and you're trying to speak to my son, he's back here and you're facing here. Don't you feel like you're turning your neck the whole time? And she said, yes. And I said, well, that's because this sofa should be centered at the window, and then that recliner should be over here. And my wife said, do not move this furniture. I didn't. But I did say if they ask for suggestions for the room, they might want to write that down. Because design matters. It impacts the functionality of the room. And it makes you feel a particular way. So, do we still have, which picture? Oh, good, the clutter one. Look at the cluttered kitchen. Yeah, I don't want to cook there. Show the organized one, Hunter. Yeah, that's it. That's not a picture of our kitchens here at Landis, but it could be because many do look like that. So it really does matter. The design impacts our quality of life. I'm going to read that one again, Hunter. The way our spaces are organized matters. A clean, uncluttered home helps our brains feel more at ease and focused, while disorganization can cause unnecessary stress and distraction. Apple's design philosophy, with its minimalist and intuitive style, serves as a great example how good design enhances our mental clarity. The simple elegance of their products reduces cognitive load, making technology easier to use and more accessible even as we age. Did you ever think you'd be running around campus on a smartphone? I see people just swiping away, the world at their fingertips. Thank you, Apple. If you're not an Apple fan, you and I should chat after this. Additionally, the way we arrange our furniture can impact our social connections and our mood. I just talked about that in terms of the social connection in the hospital. Research shows that creating spaces where we can engage with others, enjoy nature, and have easy access to light can improve both our mental and emotional health. I think it's time for another commercial. So, Graceful Transitions. It's a great service we offer here at Landis Homes. Graceful Transitions can help you. You saw the cluttered kitchen and then the organized kitchen. If you need help with that, they can help. If it's becoming difficult to get out those Christmas decorations, get them all packed, unpacked, and then packed back up, Graceful Transitions is who you want to call. Sarah Kern does a spectacular job at coordinating those services. I see individuals out here who I have paid a visit to your home through Graceful Transitions to hang artwork and move furniture. So what can we take away from all of this? It's very, very simple. Embrace art, music, and design. They shape how we see and experience the world. By embracing these forces, we open ourselves to new possibilities, deeper emotions, and a greater sense of connection to ourselves, to others, and to our Creator. Visit a gallery, sing your favorite song, rearrange your living space. Your brain will thank you. And I thank you for taking part in this event today.